Good morning, everybody. This is Robert People of RobertPeople.com. You're listening to People's Court. It is Wednesday. What are we looking at here? Wednesday, November 20th, 2019. Again, 8:30 on the East Coast. So if you are with me on the West Coast, getting up, getting ready for work, good morning. It's very early over there. It's about 5:30 there. Throughout the country, we got 6:30 Mountain, 7:30 Central Time. Anybody who is joining me now, thank you for taking the time. Spend a few minutes with me so I can just talk a little bit about something that will hopefully be encouraging to some of you today, at least. If I reach just one person, I've done the job, but I want to get to as many people as possible. Okay. Today I want to talk about, real quick, just a few minutes, about success again. And I talked about that a little bit in my last episode on Monday. But how about when you have those ambitions, right? You have ambitions to do something big. Let's say you want to be an actor, you want to be a professional athlete, scientist, artist, singer, writer. You want to do so much. Teacher. Let's say you want to go back to school, you go in the medical field, anything. You tell someone, you tell people that you want to do this. They decide, pardon the noise if you can hear all that. There's a fountain running in the back, but there's trains way off. So if you hear that, my apologies. But let's say, you tell people that you want to do this, right? And what do you get? What do you get? Well, I don't know if you should try this now. Oh, maybe you're too old to do this. Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, it might not happen for you. Oh, you took too long to start. Oh, you know how hard it is to get to do that? You know how often you hear this stuff? Let me tell you something. This is the stuff that you hear more often than, hey, go for it. Right? Now, if you're lucky, you're surrounded by people who will encourage you, right? Who will always let you know, hey, whatever you want to do, you can make happen. But unfortunately, we get those people who want to tell us how much we shouldn't, how much we can't, how much we won't. Let me tell you something. When people tell you this, when people say that to you, they are speaking about their limitations, not yours. Understand that. When people tell you that you cannot do something, they're speaking of what they can't do, what they won't do, what they shouldn't do. Don't listen to that. If the Lord put it in your heart to do something, you best believe you're going to make it happen. Don't let somebody else or the devil come through to someone else and tell you that you can't do it. Let's look at some evidence with that. When people tell you that that you can't do something, how well do they know how close you are to making it happen? How familiar are they with what you plan to do to get there? For example, say you want to be a professional athlete, right? The first thing they want to throw at you is, well, you know what the statistics are. Statistics of, how many people, actually make it as a professional athlete and so on. What does that have to do with you? People are professional athletes, right? So what does that have to do with you? How does that stop it? How do they know what your work ethic, what your drive, what you plan on doing, who you plan on talking to, how you plan to train? How do they have any idea of any of that stuff? They don't. We got professional athletes all over the place, yet we got all these haters saying it's not going to happen. It's happening. We wouldn't have professional sports if it wasn't happening. Same thing if you want to go to school to be a doctor. People are going to schools at all times in their lives. 40 years old, 50 years old, making it happen. I see people on social media every once in a while say, is it too late for me to go back to school? No. If you're alive, it's never too late. People are graduating in their 40s, 50s, 60s. It's happening. But there's always going to be that one person who says, probably should have done it earlier. Now, it's different if it's something that's age, specific. Certain things are age specific. Like you basically aren't able to do it because age is a big part of it. But we're talking about just going to school, becoming a doctor. Who says you can't do that? When people throw stuff at you, very seldom do they know you intimately to be able to say whether or not you can or can't do it. Very rare. Even if it's family members. They shouldn't be saying it either, because they should be encouraging you to, and instead of telling you what you're not going to do, they should be saying, okay, if you want to do it, this is what you got to do. This is how you got to make it happen. I'd rather get that than how much it's not going to happen. Because you know what's interesting? It's always funny that the same ones who say that, the same ones who tell you how much you're not going to make it happen, will be sitting on your doorstep the minute you do. Or they'll run around and they will not have a problem grabbing your coattails and say, hey, I knew this guy, I knew this girl, I knew her back when. Yeah, back when you were telling her how much she wasn't going to be able to do it. Yeah, you knew her back at that point, right? You have ambitions in you, you better go after them, because they were put in your heart for a reason. When you get all this, how much you can't do it and shouldn't do it, guess what? That's coming from the enemy. The enemy wants you to fail. The enemy doesn't want you to succeed. God put something in your heart. The enemy doesn't have the power to put something in your heart, so he has to mess with you in other ways. He has to go through other people to try to get you off your game, to say, you know what, I need to try to steal this from you in some kind of way. The devil steals, kills, and destroys. That's what he's looking to do. He seeks to steal, kill, and destroy. He doesn't have the power to put good stuff in your heart. So he has to take things from you. And if you don't believe that, look at how many times in your life, think about this. Think about how many times in your life you've heard people say, well, I wouldn't do that, when you didn't ask them whether or not they would. You say, I'm going to go do this. Well, I wouldn't do that if I were you. You're not me, though. And we're not talking about something extreme like I'm going to go rob a bank or something. You know, obviously that's, within reason, people. Let's be reasonable here. But if it's, I'm going to start my journey. I'm 40 years old and I want to work to be a doctor. And then someone says, well, I wouldn't do that. Why not? And sometimes just ask them. Go ahead and ask them. Say, if you wouldn't do it, why not? Well, aren't you a little old? No, people are becoming doctors well into their 40s and 50s. Nurses, everything. And once you dig a little bit, you'll get to the root, and once you get to the root of what these people are saying, you'll find out. You will easily discover that it's more about them than it is you. I've learned that the last few times I've done that with people. You continue to dig, and eventually it's going to come out that it's not something they would do. It's not something they would seek. You're not doing it for them. They're not the ones doing it, you are. Not to mention, when you talk to, especially strangers, I love when strangers do that. It's like, why are you even talking to me? I mean, seriously, it's like, strangers who know nothing about you, and they know enough to tell you whether or not you shouldn't try something? Come on. Especially if you put it on social media. There's always that person on social media who just thinks they got it all figured out. I mean, everything. Can't say I don't know. They say, well, you shouldn't do it. Oh, my Lord. As a writer myself, I'm a writer. And, I see that so much in our field. Someone says they want to do something. Oh, you shouldn't do that. And I'm like, why not? Oh, well, they would never accept something like that. Talking about these studios as a screenwriter. Oh, they would never accept that. How do you know what they're going to accept? Do you work in the studio? Then get. How are you going to tell me what the studio is going to take and you don't work in the studio? That does something to me, because I'm just like, let them work. They're trying to work and you're telling them don't work? If the studio is not going to accept it, just in this case, the studio is not going to accept it, let them find that out. Don't stop them from work. Let them work. Because guess what? The worst thing that happens in a case like that is that person still worked. They worked on their craft. So if the studio doesn't take it, good. That person has they have something to put in their portfolio. Let them do it. If the studio came out and said, we will not accept these, that's one thing. But even in that case, say, look, do it. Do it for yourself. Do it for practice. Do it to work. We got to work at our crafts. There's so many things that we don't. I don't want to get too far off track here, but don't let the fact that you can't, that this place won't accept you, stop you, because you still got to work at whatever it is too. Work. If you want to be an actor, don't say the only time I'm gonna act is when an audition comes up. No, work. Act around the house. Every once in a while, my son wants to be an actor. Every once in a while, I'm like, all right, let's try this. And I mess with him and kind of give him the little taste of how it is and have us do 50 takes or something and all this, just so he gets an idea of what it's like. I don't have all the answers with it, but I'm not going to say, hey, just sit there, don't do anything until an audition, because by the time an audition comes up, you're already behind. But anyway, back to this, and I'll wrap up shortly. But don't let people tell you, people who have no idea what you're trying to do, tell you that you can't do something. There are people who might be in the field and some who have no clue. I have nothing to do, no idea about anything having to do with acting, but I'm going to tell you that you're not going to make it as an actor, that you shouldn't try, that you shouldn't this. How would I have any idea? And it's funny to me because the way people go through some things, it's like, huh? Like, where do you get all this from? How do you know? And again, eventually they'll go through everything in the world, but eventually they'll come right back to themselves. It'll be about, well, I wouldn't do that. Thank you for sharing. Guess it's good that nobody asked you to do it, right? So just remember that. Don't put your stock in when people don't put your stock in people telling you that you can't do something. Who cares about statistics? Unless that number is 0%, unless 0 people do it, guess what? You got a shot because they got it. If they made it, guess what? You can too. People love statistics. That's another thing in the writing field. I'm not going to fuss about writing too much because I could do an entire episode strictly on that. But people love to throw statistics at you. And that's that's probably the oldest trick in the book to hide from the fact that they personally wouldn't do it themselves. They give you statistics. So that way, I'm going to tell you what the statistics are that you won't succeed. That way it doesn't look like I'm a hater and that it's coming from me. Now, if you're asking for the statistics, that's a different story. Then it's like, okay, now now that's what you're looking for. You're looking for facts. You're looking for the truth. They're going to give it to you. But when you say, hey, I want to do this, there's no reason for statistics to be thrown in your face. Who cares? People are doing it, right? So there you go. And even if people weren't doing it, guess what? Be the first. If people aren't doing it, be the first. Everything that's ever happened in the world and is happening now, guess what? Somebody was the first one to do it. Don't even let that stop you. Because if nobody's doing it, guess what? Nobody can tell you whether or not you'll be successful at it, right? Don't let them tell you. You have it in your heart, you go do it. You either make it happen or you'll learn a lesson from it. Either way, you go, you do it. Don't let people tell you what you're not able to do, what you shouldn't do, what you can't do. Just remember, the way we all love, people love to put themselves in your position. Well, this is what I would do, I would do. That's what they're doing. They're telling you what their limits are when they say you shouldn't do something. Nobody knows what your limits are. Nobody knows what kind of work you're going to put into it. Nobody knows really anything about what you're trying to do. So don't let them tell you that you can't. I mean, you can let them tell you. They can tell you all day. What I'm saying is, don't believe it. Because a much higher being told you that you can. And he don't make mistakes. Thank y'all for listening. This is Robert People. Go stop by my website, robertpeople.com. Check it out. I have some other good things on there for you. Thank you for listening. Hope you all have a wonderful day.